Frankie. Frankie.
Shut that thing off, will you?
It's the phone, not the alarm.
What time is it?
It's past 2 in the morning.
Oh, answer, would you, Viv? Can't you see I'm sleeping?
Please, Frankie, I'm scared. I'm scared if it's that same horrible, greasy voice.
Say it stopped. Wrong number, I told you.
How do you know it's the wrong number if you haven't answered it yet?
Oh, logic. I hate logic.
Frankie boy?
No.
Ah, the little lady. Sit down. Take a message. Tell Frankie boy that I got the word, and the word is bad. The word is 2 days. A 1, a 2, and a boom. And that's all.
Who is this?
Friend. A good friend. You want to be friendly? Here's something else you can do for me.
Oh, my God.
Mama, is it time to get up?
No, Michael, you've got another 2 hours.
I thought I heard the alarm go off.
No, go back to sleep.
Was it the same man, Mama?
Who was it?
You tell me.
Forget it. Some drunk like last night. Wrong number. I told you wrong number, right? And I was right.
Why are you shouting? Whenever you tell me a lie, you have to break my eardrums.
It was nobody. Don't worry.
I like to worry. Do you mind? Look, he knows you. He knows your name.
All right. All right, I confess. It was her husband, no doubt about it. This lady customer. She's nuts about me. She appreciates my type. Are you satisfied?
All right. What's her name, What's her name? Come on. Tell me, you lunkhead. Tomorrow morning, I want you to call the police. Will you promise me?
Yes, I'm working tomorrow afternoon, too. Remember? You got yourself a 2-job man. For some peculiar reason, I also can sweep the floors if you show me how to use the broom, huh?
Look, are you going to call the police, or are you going to joke your way out of it?
Oh, sweetheart. The police can't be no help. By the time they traced the calls, they would have hung up.
So, Frankie, please, Will you call the cops? Will you promise? Or better still, why don't you go and see them? Personal contact is ever so much better.
Hey. You're kidding.
Frank Santo. He's been bothered by some anonymous phone calls. Like at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Sit down, Mr. Santo. Thank you, Sergeant. How many phone calls have you had? Yeah, I don't know, Sergeant. 3 or 4.
Well, apparently they worry your family more than they do you. Always the same voice?
No, different guys every time.
Well, you're dealing with an organization, aren't you?
Look, Sergeant, we're wasting our time, you know? I figured some kind of a bum gag. You know, fellas get together in a bar. It's almost closing time, 2 o'clock in the morning. Let's pick out a name from a phone book, right? Who's got a dime? They bum a dime from the bartender. Why don't we forget the whole thing?
Have you got any personal enemies?
Enemies? I don't have time. I'm holding down 2 jobs down. I'm still behind.
Got any relatives?
Every Christmas.
Why are you being so tough about this?
Because phones. You know, they don't bother me. They bother my wife.
Why?
Well, she's expected.
She's having a rough time?
She's having a grand time, but not me. You know, and she wants me to give her a written guarantee that it's going to be a girl. What can I do, huh? I figure whatever it's going to be, it's too late. And that goes for the phone calls, too.
I'm Santa. Bye. What's he do for a living?
He owns a panel truck, delivers newspapers, wholesale route. That's just one of his jobs. At 9 o'clock in the morning, he's a shipping clerk. You know he works 14 hours a day?
Why?
I don't know. Maybe he's just greedy.
So a hard-working, clean-living family man comes in here and lies his head off. Well, why, I wonder? Scared. I think I'll give some advice to Mr. Santo. There's one little thing I want to ask you, Mr. Santo.
Look, I didn't want to annoy you, but I'm on my lunch hour. When I'm hungry, forget it.
You borrow any extra bucks in the last couple of months?
How'd you know? Who told you?
What, did you?
Yeah? I got life insurance, and I had to make a big payment on the premium. Hey, look, I figured I got 4 boys and a girl coming at me. You know, if I croak and it happens every day, what's going to happen to them?
So you borrowed from one of these barroom loan sharks. No questions asked. Did they ask you for any security? No. Because you're the security.
Huh. And you win yourself a fully transistorized electrical toothpick.
Mr. Santo. Sit down, will you? You know, I know what to tell you, but I don't think you'll do it.
Not only won't I do it, I won't like it either.
Pay up the loan.
Look, Sergeant, $300. Plus I paid them $200 more, but they say that the $500 applies to interest alone and that I still owe them $300.
So you said no? They start making these unpleasant phone calls at 2 in the morning.
And you can't track them down? You're going to wait until they get me in both ends of an alley, right?
Believe me, Mr. Santo. Pay the loan if you can.
You're an officer of the law and you give me that advice?
Now, look. It's not a person we're after, it's a machine. Now, I could track that machine down, but I doubt it'll do any good. You'd have to sue, and in a civil court at that. Because what they're doing to you is not a felony, it's a misdemeanor. But a practically unenforceable misdemeanor. I'm telling you, you're a family man. Pay up the loan. I don't want to see you get hurt.
So, pay them.
Pay them.
Not me.
Why not?
Because I got too much pride. Hey, can I give you a lift?
No, thanks.
Oh, yeah, he's studying mathematics. You ought to see the stuff he reads. The logical conclusions of analog computers. Forget it.
I could have gone to college. Yeah, I had a chance. I was the high school champion at miniature golf.
Oh, you were a cinch. All he had missing was one little brain.
Hey, listen, I make more than this kid of his. Plus fringe benefits. I mean, look what I make if I lose an arm.
Hey, you know what he makes if he loses his head? Nothing. Nobody would even notice.
Hey, Papa.
What's the matter?
Come here a minute.
Can I brag about you a little bit? What do you want?
The blue convertible parked at the curb. Don't look now.
Yeah, I saw them. Don't worry, I'm not afraid.
Hey, fellas! Hey!
Short time no see!
Come on, Papa. Come on, let's get rolling.
Yeah. It's all in my mind.
Greetings, man. Nice morning. Well, it was. I mean, you went and spoiled it.
Not in my estimation. I was off to a good start.
Mr. Santo, I don't know how many aces you owe the boss,
What's
but
he talking about, Papa?
You get back in the truck. Go ahead.
tell your papa to pay his bills.
You tell that boss of yours that I paid him all I'm gonna pay, understand?
You're so wrong, man.
And you get that rig out of the way because I'm gonna run right through it, with you in it.
You're so foolish. He's so foolish, your papa.
Don't stand there asking questions with your mouth shut. We're late and I'm not gonna stop. You just heave those bundles out as hard as you can and then get back. Way back.
I'm not afraid of them, Pop. I don't care who they are.
Well, you ought to be. Come on, son. We gotta go make a living.
What was that stuff anyway?
I don't know for sure. I suspect it's fuming nitric acid.
Don't bother me. I'd say it. Spit it out. Not that it's true, as my son already told me what you did, but he didn't tell me why. Although I got a pretty good idea. How much they pay you?
I didn't know what was in that bottle. I didn't want to know.
Yeah, you know now.
They said throw it right, or you'll get the same. A man like me, I can't afford to get disfigured. I'm in the public eye. Oh, don't you see they made me do it, Mr. Santo?
I don't blame you. Not that I would do it, I wouldn't. But somebody in this wide world's got to stand up to these guys. Nobody else does, so I guess I'm elected.
You gonna turn me in, Mr. Santo?
No.
Mr. Santo, I'll never forget this favor. Believe me, Mr. Santo, you're a saint.
Well, I sincerely hope not.
Hurt pretty badly?
Enough.
You Michael Joseph Santo?
Yes, sir. How'd you know?
Oh, I know a lot of things. Sometimes too much for my own good. Can you tell me exactly what happened?
Sure, I was in the back of the truck and I got hit with a bottle of acid.
Well, then you were in a pretty good position to see the man who threw the bottle.
No, sir, I wasn't.
Well, describe him to the best of your ability.
All I saw was a blur.
Tall blur or short blur?
It was kind of medium. I don't know, sir. My father was driving the truck pretty fast.
Sorry this happened, Mr. Santo.
Hey, you remember my name? I must have a criminal face, I confess.
Now, look, Mr. Santo, I'm trying to save you and your family from serious injury or possible death.
Pay them, huh? No, Sergeant. They picked on the wrong guy. Maybe I'm a little bit stubborn. But when these wise guys come down, I see what they do to people. No, my instincts tell me no. And I made up my mind. No.
You're making a big mistake.
I thought you said the police couldn't help. You said so.
Now, look, Mr. Santo, your boy is a freshman in college. He has his whole life ahead of him. Now, somebody's thrown acid at him. That's felonious assault, possibly with intent to kill. Now, that's a crime we could probably prove.
Oh, yeah. And then what, Sergeant? Maybe you're able to arrest them. And then they're out, and then they're out and back on my neck.
I'll give you 24 hours protection.
No, thanks.
Why not?
Because I don't want to live my life that way. I'm going to finish this problem one way or the other. Come on, Mike.
What are you gonna do?
Well, Sergeant, I'll tell you. I'll sell an eye out of my head and pay. You satisfied? Terrific.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrific, Papa.
Except what? Go ahead, let me hear your exceptions. Maybe you got a better answer than what I got. I doubt it.
No, Papa, I don't have a better answer.
Now, look, Mike. I brought you into this world, right? With God's help, and with your mother's, of course. And I never asked your permission. Well, I'm doing the same thing right now. I got you into this mess, and I never asked you whether it made any sense to you whatsoever. Well, maybe it doesn't. But nobody ever stood up to these guys.
Papa, they've got an organization. Look, all we have is a pretty good second-hand machine pistol with the breech bolt missing.
Now, look, Mike, don't argue with me. You'll win a debate, and I'll go on doing what I have to do. All I want to know is, are you with me, or do you want out?
Papa, I'm with you.
You're a good boy, Michael Joseph.
Stand gun without a breech bolt. On your feet, punks. And reach. Reach for blue sky.
please. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? I want a moment of your time. Thank you very much. And those two fellows over in the corner, would you stand up, please? I want the people to see who you are. Come on up on your feet. Hold it! Hold it! Would you help me with this, please? How does it come off? Thank you. Now look at them. Kids. With their mother's milk still wet on their mustache, which they'll never be man enough to grow any. I borrowed $300, and they send these kindergarten punks to come and collect. Collect what? I paid back the $300, plus $200 more in interest charges, and they claim that the $500 was all interest, and I still owe them $300. Come on, sit down. Come on, sit down. You know, I could kill you right now, but I won't. Because I want you to go back to your boss and you tell him that I took a solemn oath, me and two friends of mine, and we took a solemn oath that if you touch one hair on the head of my wife or kids, we're gonna come gunning for you. And not only you two punks, but also that Sherlock boss of yours who hired you for this. So just leave me alone and let me live in peace. Or else there's going to be yellow-colored blood splattered all over that blue convertible of yours, which I paid for out of my guts. I'm sorry to inconvenience you. Thank you. Keep playing, sir. You got a very nice band there. Good night. Right there behind the seat.
What are you doing, frightening a couple of ex-juveniles?
Oh, well, they'll talk, they'll complain. This gun is going to get bigger as they tell it. It has already. By the time it reaches their boss, wow!
Who are you talking about?
He's not so mysterious as you make out. In fact, there are some people in this town who even go as far as mentioning his name.
What?
Fat Legs.
Fat Legion? Oh, he's not the one you're looking for. He's only a small-time gambler. He's not even in the loan racket. He'd just like to be.
Yeah? Well, who's the real one, according to you?
I don't know.
Of course not. You don't know. Well, watch out. The worm turns. He buys a gun and gets revenge.
My advice to you is to break it up and throw it away.
No thanks, Sergeant. This is a war trophy, you know? Without a bolt and without a spring, and it can't fire, if you'll excuse me.
They're gonna kill him.
Hey, get out. Come on, let's go.
Mr. Santo, I've been looking for you.
Is she conscious, Doc?
She'll be fine, considering the circumstances.
Oh, thank God in heaven.
Yes, it could have been a lot worse.
Doc, could you tell me? Was the baby going to be a boy or a girl? Because that's the first thing she'll ask me when I see her.
At -6 months, there's no way in the world to tell. Mr. Santo, I'm going to go write up a report for the police. I suggest you do the same. And then try to forget it.
Easiest thing in the world, Doc.
Papa, there's nothing more to be done. We've been over and over this. Get some sleep now.
If I could just get to the man on top, the one who eats the cream, takes the percentage, washes his hand and snaps his fingers, and 2 punks come down here and do this to us.
But suppose you found him. What would you do, Papa? I mean, after you'd gotten past his bulletproof limousines and his bodyguards. What would you do, Papa? Go out and buy a hat so you could take it off and plead with them?
Oh, he'd listen to me. Especially if I killed him first.
Well, that's great. What then, Papa? With you in jail? Or worse? Papa, I don't want to even think about it. Who'd support the family? Me?
There are some things that just have to be done, Michael Joseph. Regardless of the consequences.
Why, Papa?
Self-respect. Do you know anything about self-respect?
How are you today, Mr. Santo?
I don't know. It's early. I haven't looked yet.
Mrs. Santo?
She lost a lot of blood. Did you get the information I need?
Well, I did, but it's not reliable.
What is it? Any detail might help.
This Fat Legs. You're right, he's nothing. He's just trying to push his way up. The real boss, they don't even mention his name. Maybe he doesn't even exist. Just a machine.
All I want to do is talk to him.
That's none of my business, Mr. Santo. Just don't tell me about it.
Scared out of his pants, Papa, can't you see?
He knows plenty. You know plenty, don't you? And you were going to tell me, then you stopped. You're just like the rest of us. You're nothing but a gutless wonder.
Mr. Santo, we're both on the same spot. But the information I have is pretty near worthless.
You let me be the judge of that.
They say the boss has a girlfriend, lives in Bel Air.
Who is she?
They don't mention her name. But they say she used to be a swimming champion. The boss gives her protection. He comes every day. He bought this big, luxurious place for her.
Where is this place?
Well, they don't say. But they claim it's luxurious. Jean Harlow used to live there, they claim.
All right, thanks. You did the best you know how.
Please, Mr. Santo. I didn't know what was in that bottle. Mr. Santo, I swear. They said, throw. Santo trusts you. I had to do it, they'd kill me. Worse yet, they'd force me out of business. And what could a man like me do? Go in the circus? I'm not that unusual. Please, you've got to forgive me, Mr. Santo.
I forgive you. I forgive you. Now, just don't talk about it.
Maps to movie stars' homes. That's for us.
Mr. Anderson, I looked at your little pictures, but goodness, I didn't know there were that many criminals in the world. The only trouble is they all look alike, ugly.
Did your husband tell you not to recognize them?
What? Why should he do a thing like that?
Realize, Mrs. Santo, that your husband could become a criminal, just like them? Would you like to see him with a number, front, and profile?
You're just trying to frighten me. I won't let you.
Your husband bought himself a gun.
Oh, I know. He told me. And you know what I think? I think he's right.
Oh, he's wrong. You see that, don't you, Mrs. Santo? Now, I want you to talk to him. I want you to stop him. Because I've tried, and I can't.
Mr. Anderson, there is a loan racket, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Well, why don't you stop it? Arrest the man who runs it.
You don't know who he is?
No. And even if you did, you couldn't do much about it, could you? No, because a man as dirty as all that buys his way out of everything. And with our money, too. That's right, isn't it?
All I want to do right now is stop a man from committing a crime. Now, won't you help me do that?
Hello, Bob. Why, Ian, what do you want? Termites, can't you read? It's on a box, Bob. They say Jean Harlow used to live here when she was alive. So? Well, she bought a lifetime termite inspection on that house. And the house is still there, so I guess we're still obligated. Hey, look, it's nearly 1 o'clock and I've had no lunch. So would you quit this crazy routine, officer, and let me go and inspect? Or else here. Sign this voucher and I'll go and eat.
Don't sign anything, Bubba.
Mr. Wilton, workman here from Termites.
Hello, sir.
No, annual inspection. Holly, here's a contract for the house.
Thank you, Biggs.
Hello, Mr. Wilton.
Good day.
Ma'am? I'm just here to check termites, sir.
Fine. Go ahead.
Thank you.
John, sweetheart, would you please look that over carefully? You know, I could get that whole schmear for just peanuts.
Anything that cheap wouldn't be worth the trouble.
You may be right. You usually are. Howsomever, I'm not angry.
Well, you know me. I don't like confusion. You stay in your business and I'll stay in mine.
I love you, Mr. Wilton. You're so nice and nasty.
Yes, sir. In fact, the man down at the pool appears to have been shot. Do you want me to call the police?
Hurry!
You're too late. They already killed him.
Hello. I wonder if I may speak to Sergeant Anderson. If he's not too busy.
Beautiful. Simply beautiful. Come in next week for prophylaxis and you're all through. Are you happy? I'm unhappy because I can't charge any more money.
Go back.
Open, please. On your way out, you'll notice a man in the waiting room. He's very anxious to talk to you.
Oh?
It's a big contributor to our clinic, so when he called me...
Why did he come to my office?
It's something personal.
What's his name?
I have his check right here. $1,000.
Fartligian. Doc, you're gathering a shady clientele. This guy's a crook.
Oh? You think this check's no good?
No, he can cash one 5 times as big, and every penny of it'll be illegitimate.
Is that so? Isn't that interesting?
No. I'll see you. You want to talk to me, talk. I haven't got much time.
You know me?
Yeah, I know you.
You read in the papers about some big shot. Wilton was his name.
So?
Seems he got filled with bullet holes while paddling around in a swimming pool. Naturally, he sank to the bottom. Into Mr. Wilton. You don't think that's funny?
The Novocaine is wearing off.
You gonna take this case, Mr. Egan?
No.
Why not?
I haven't been asked.
I asked you, all right?
Why?
So I want you to take the case, Mr. Egan, because a client will talk to you confidentially, of course, things which don't get out to the public.
And I'm to run right over and tell you all about it, huh?
Call me at my private number. I'll pay the charge.
The boys are really interested, aren't they?
Oh, boy. They're concerned.
About what?
It's complicated. Big man like Wilton gets put away in mothballs. Questions will naturally arise. There's a million rumors. Can buy him for nickels and dimes. It's worth real money, no, to know the facts.
I'll take the case, Mr. Fatligian, under one condition. I want the money in advance.
Oh, don't worry about it, Mr. Egan.
In advance, Mr. Fatligian, so I can subpoena you, put you on the stand, and break this corruption so wide open they'll smell it clear to Washington.
Don't fool around with these boys, Mr. Egan.
Get lost. Nick, you arrested a suspect in the Wilton murder case. Frank Santa, why? I'm interested. Tell me about him. Is he a professional killer?
Well, he doesn't do it for a living, no.
But you're pretty certain of his guilt.
Beyond any doubt whatsoever.
Why? Why do you think he did it?
Old-fashioned motive. Entirely out of style these days. He did it to keep his dignity.
Justifiable murder? In your opinion?
Murder.
Did he, plan it in advance?
Unfortunately, yes. It's first degree, John. There's no way around it.
Has he, hired a lawyer yet?
A lawyer? Can't even hire a rowboat for a day's outing, much less a lawyer. Which lets you out, doesn't it?
To defend a guilty man without pay is good ethics, but, bad business.
Well, the court will appoint the defense counsel. He'll go through the motions, interested and sincere. The client will have every legal benefit up until the time he dies in the gas chamber.
No, leave that.
Thank you.
Nick, one more question.
Yes, Counselor. It makes me sick sometimes to have to make an arrest.
Is that what you had in mind? In other words, guilty by law, but maybe morally innocent?
That's a distinction, thank God, that I will personally not have to make. See you.
Give me the same, whatever that is.
Soda, you?
I better throw some scotch in it. I've got a stupid decision to make.
I wish I could help you to a greater extent, Mr. Egan. But I can't. I'm innocent, and that's that.
The facts indicate that you're guilty.
Yeah, well, there are some facts that ought to be abolished.
Plead guilty. I'll take the case.
I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Mr. Santo, plead guilty, and with good conscience, I can put your wife in the stand. And very possibly your children, if I can justify it in any way. And perhaps get you a lighter sentence, which is what I think you deserve.
All right.
1 to 20, very possibly.
It's too long.
It's a lot shorter than eternity.
But if I get death, you see, I'm not afraid to say the word. I also get insurance.
That's a pretty pessimistic point of view.
Not to me. You see, Mr. Egan, I've got a family that depends on me, dead or alive, for bread, house, education.
Tell me the truth, Mr. Santos. Are you, in fact, if not in law, guilty or innocent?
Do I have to answer that?
They put you on the stand. They'll ask you the same question.
Well, then I won't go on the stand. Do I have to?
No. There's the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, which provides against self-incrimination. In other words, you don't have to stand up and admit your own guilt.
That's for me.
Unfortunately, in this state, the district attorney can and generally will comment rather severely on your action. You have every right to plead the Fifth, and he has every right to criticize you for doing it.
I'll sit tight and plead innocent.
Mr. Santo, are you innocent because you didn't kill John Wilton? Or are you innocent because you have a wife and 4 children?
You don't want my case. I don't blame you. Goodbye, Mr. Egan. It was nice talking to you. You know, I heard your name mentioned many times. I'm just sorry I had the pleasure under circumstances like this.
I'm afraid it's too late. I've asked for the case, and the court has appointed me your counsel. But only if I have your approval. Well?
Well, I'm thinking about it.
Oh, this is ridiculous. Here I am pleading for a case which, by every legal precedent, I'm going to lose.
You want my case pretty bad, huh?
Yes, I do.
Why?
I have my reasons. Private ones, just as you have yours.
You get angry. You know, I trust a man that can get angry. All right. It's a deal. But remember, no money.
No money. Only what the court designates out of public funds.
The public pays for me?
That's right.
This is a great country we live in, huh? I wouldn't want to be tried for murder any place else in the world.
Mr. Biggs, on hearing the first shot fired, how long did it take you to reach the pool?
I don't know. I didn't time it.
Well, approximate it if you can, huh?
10, 15 seconds.
Did you hear any firing as you pounded up the path at this record-breaking speed?
Yeah, all the shots were fired at once.
Then the firing had stopped by the time you reached the pool.
Yep.
And you saw no weapon in his hand.
All he had was a telephone.
Isn't it a fact that he was phoning the police?
You say so.
Phoning the police, is that the act of a deliberate murderer?
Sure, if he's deliberate enough.
Mr. Biggs, when you let Mr. Santo through that locked front gate, did he have a gun at that time?
Certainly not.
How do you know?
I checked him.
Do you frisk everybody who comes through that gate?
I checked them for weapons, yes.
Was that your job?
If I didn't know them, yes.
Why, was Mr. Wilton afraid for his life?
Mr. Wilton was a successful man, and every successful man, you know that yourself, has a world of enemies. You gotta take precautions.
What were your special qualifications for bodyguard?
I don't understand you.
Well, maybe you don't want to. Isn't it true you were hired because you were qualified?
Mr. Wilton thought so, yeah.
And wasn't one of your special qualifications the fact that you once carried stenciled on your back the number 107329?
Mr. Biggs, answer the question, please.
The answer is right here. Mr. Biggs was sentenced to 6 months at the county prison in Chino for peddling narcotics, in the course of which incarceration he took daily exercises and improved his physique to such an extent that he was given an additional 3 years for attempting to strangle a fellow prisoner with his bare hands.
Mr. Santo had a gun, did he not?
Yes, sir. He carried it openly in the cab of his truck.
You saw that gun?
I examined it, yes.
Sergeant, tell me this. Could that gun Mr. Santo carried in the cab of his truck have fired these .45 caliber bullets?
Could, yes. Which is not the same as to say that it did.
Well, why do you doubt it?
Well, the gun I examined had no breech bolt.
No breech bolt, but it killed a man, did it not?
Possibly, but not certainly.
All right, then. Where is that remarkable gun right now?
I believe it to be at the bottom of the Hollywood Reservoir.
And how do you know that?
Mr. Santo said he took my advice and threw it away.
All right. Mr. Santo told you he threw that gun in the reservoir. Have you found it?
No, sir, not yet. It's a pretty big lake.
Sergeant, tell me this. Are you searching the Hollywood Reservoir for that gun because you think that Mr. Santo is an honest man?
Yes, sir.
Has an honest man ever committed a murder? And if so, should he not be punished for it, the same as you, or me, or any member of this jury?
Well, I have an opinion on that, sir, but I'm not sure it's admissible as evidence.
You're right, Sergeant. It's not. Your witness, Mr. Regan.
Sergeant, I have only one question. If no gun was found on Mr. Santo's person, or even on the grounds of the entire estate, and if, as the ex-convict Mr. Biggs testified, he arrived at the pool 10 or 15 seconds after the sound of the firing and saw no weapon, how could you, in your experience as a policeman, explain the method by which Mr. Santo killed his bitterest enemy with a gun which he plainly didn't have?
I don't know, sir.
Now, Dr. Hastings, I ask you, can you identify this photograph?
Yes. That's the body of John Wilton.
And how do you know that?
I performed the autopsy on him.
Would you describe your findings, please?
Her death was primarily due to a massive hemorrhage.
Now, Doctor, let me ask you this. What organs, if any, were punctured by the bullets which hit Mr. Wilton?
The first bullet struck and pierced the left bicep, shattered the bone and the attendant arteries, went on to pierce the left side under the armpit, and embed itself in a loop of the intestine from which it was recovered. The second bullet shattered the right shoulder blade, went on through the lung, and emerged through the liver.
In other words, Doctor, a defenseless man, half naked, taking his ease in a swimming pool, was shot to death from behind.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. Your witness.
Both bullets entered from above and behind, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do you swim, Doctor?
Why, yes, I do.
Can you tell the jury, Doctor, from the evidence of this gruesome and effective photograph, what stroke Mr. Wilton was using at the time he was shot?
It's impossible to be absolutely sure.
Frank Santo is on trial for murder. That is about as absolute as one can get, Doctor. Would you like to change your testimony that both shots were fired from above and behind the dead man?
It was a probable assumption.
Which was probably wrong.
Possibly.
Well, then possibly Mr. Wilton might have been swimming on his side, or floating on his face, or fetching pennies from the bottom of the pool upside down. Isn't that so? Now, we are willing to stipulate that there was no assassin at the bottom of the pool. But on the other hand, there were literally dozens of other places. The path, the lawn, the house, the steps, from which the numerous enemies of Mr. Wilton might have shot him to death from above and behind. Isn't that so, Doctor? Be frank with me.
I wasn't there, sir.
Precisely, sir. You were not there.
Yes, Mr. Miller, I saw the man who murdered him. That's absolutely correct. I saw him. I saw him standing by the edge of the bathhouse with a gun in his hand.
All right, Miss Stack, would you tell me, please, is the man that fired that gun in this courtroom?
Yes, he is.
Point him out, please.
The man who killed Mr. Wilton is sitting on Mr. Egan's left.
Indicating the defendant, Frank Santo.
Well, I can't swear to his name, but I'll swear to his face the rest of my natural life. He had that gun, he fired that gun, and he killed Mr. Wilton.
Thank you, Miss Stack. Mr. Egan, would you care to cross-examine?
The lady'd be disappointed if I passed her up.
Yes, I would, Mr. Egan.
Thank you.
What is your profession, Miss Stack?
Well, I just finished a major motion picture. I'm not sure what they're going to call it, but my personal name for it was Water Gets in Your Eyes.
Before that, you were once a champion swimmer, were you not, Miss Stack?
Mr. Harris, I have a closet full of cups with 2 handles. If you need any, just be my guest.
I suppose you could pass the Red Cross Senior Life-Saving Test?
I suppose.
And save somebody from drowning.
Well, it would depend on who. You see, I'm very choosy.
Is that why you didn't save Mr. Wilton?
Oh, look, fella, he was shot. Didn't you even listen to my testimony?
Your Honor, please. Now, Miss Stack is not on trial here, though the defense is trying very hard to give that impression. Now, would you ask that they confine themselves to the guilt or innocence, if any, of their client, Frank Santo?
I've allowed you gentlemen certain liberties, but Mr. Miller has a point. Suppose you tell me what you're trying to get at.
Doreen Stack's relationship to the dead man.
Why?
Well, her personal emotion may have colored her normally keen sense of observation, Your Honor.
I see. But frame your questions properly, or I'll throw the whole interrogation out of the record.
You say Mr. Wilton was your dear close friend?
Is that what I said?
That's what you said.
Well, if that's what I said, it must be true.
Was he also your lover?
Look, you're being nasty, and I just won't have it.
I apologize.
Has the defense finished with this witness?
Oh, no, Your Honor. Miss Stack, you have a beautiful home. Did Mr. Wilton buy it for you?
No, of course not. It was bought by the Alamos Corporation.
Which was wholly owned by Mr. Wilton. Why, so he could deduct you as an administrative expense?
I don't know exactly what that means, but I resent it. Besides, Mr. Wilton and I just didn't discuss money matters.
Because you were, in fact, such dear, close friends?
Yes, yes.
Well, let me point out to you, Miss Stack, that your dear, close friend was hurt very badly. He was pierced by 2 bullets while swimming in warm water. He was bleeding profusely, and you let him bleed. Now, you testified you did so because you were afraid. But isn't it possible that you were also afraid that if you did pull him out, he wouldn't die?
No, no. Why would I do a horrible thing like that?
You tell me.
But I loved him. I loved him. He was the most wonderful man in the world. Oh, please. Please.
Under the circumstances, I suggest we recess until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Oh.
Just a minute.
I didn't believe there was anybody in the world who would cry for Mr. Wilton. But but I guess I was wrong.
Frank, I've been watching you all day. What's the matter with you? You sick?
In a way.
Mr. Santos saw the newspapers last night.
So did I. These are your enemies, Mr. Santo, and mine.
It's awful. I can't stop thinking about it.
Killing each other off, fighting for Wilton's dirty little crown.
Ironic, isn't it?
It's just terrible.
Yes, when you shoot a man, whether he's good or bad, he bleeds and dies in much the same way. That surprise you?
When I saw that lady crying over Mr. Wilton, I wanted to...
You wanted to what, Frank? Change your mind and plead guilty?
No. No, I'm innocent, Mr. Egan. You believe that in your heart, don't you, Mr. Egan?
It's the jury we have to convince, Mr. Santo, not me. Your name, please?
The same as yesterday, Doreen Stack.
But you dress so differently. I wanted to make the identification for the jury.
Well, you'll have to excuse me. You see, I cried all last night.
Miss Stack, I feel a deep sympathy for you in your present bereavement. I'm sure your feelings are sincere. Mr. Wilton, as you say, was undoubtedly a fine man. He had many wide interests, and I'm sure many possible enemies. Now, this is not to impugn his character in the least.
Thank you.
Do you know of any specific enemies?
No, but they must be awful people.
What about Mr. Fatligian? Oscar Fatligian, popularly called Fat Legs.
Never heard of him, fella.
Well, now, that's curious, because I have here a photostat of a jeweler's order for an inscription to be put on the inside of a diamond and platinum bracelet. Let me quote the inscription. To Doreen, my champ, unquote.
Well, Mr. Egan, lots of people give me all sorts of things.
Yeah, but that bracelet cost $5,500. That's a lot of money. It was paid for by Mr. Fatligian. Have you heard of him now?
Mr. Fatligian is just an acquaintance.
A dear, close acquaintance?
Yes. Look, it's my life, and I'll lead it just as I see fit.
Mr. Biggs, Mr. Arthur Biggs, please come to the stand.
What, again? You've already been sworn in. Your previous oath still holds. You understand that, don't you? The truth, just as you told it the other day, or even a little more so?
You make a man out to be a liar before he gets a chance to open his mouth up, don't you?
Your name and address, please.
I gave that before, sir.
Do so again, please. It's important to identify the witnesses so there's no possibility of error.
Arthur Biggs, 242 7th Place, Los Angeles, 66, California, USA.
Do you have a family, Mr. Biggs?
Not that I know of.
But you are married?
No?
Single?
What else is there?
There's perjury, Mr. Biggs. After some delay, I got this in the mail this morning. It's a copy of a marriage certificate issued at Juarez, Mexico 6 months ago between Arthur Biggs, 242, 7th Place, and one Doris Schlagover of Beverly Hills, California. Your Honor, I submit this in evidence. Now, Mr. Biggs, bearing in mind the penalties for perjury, especially when a man is on trial for his life, what is Doris Schlagover's professional name, sir?
You know it already.
Repeat it to the jury, please.
Doreen Stack.
You dummy! What have you got between your ears? A potted plant?
Order! Bailiff, remove Miss Stack from this courtroom.
Thank you, Mr. Biggs. No more questions. Frank, we can't wait. We've got them screaming at each other. Now, I want to hit them with a haymaker. Let me put you on the stand.
I can't, Mr. Egan.
Because you're innocent?
Because I'm innocent. And because I'm afraid of what I would say.
Why?
You know, I still carry that paper around with me, those photographs. I can't get them on my mind. I can't. And then I heard on the radio this man, Fatligian. Is it true, Mr. Egan?
It's true. Switched on his engine last night and got both legs blown off. They're all fighting for Wilton's crown.
Then it's all my fault.
Oh, come on.
It's all my fault, this killing and this bombing. What'd I do, Mr. Egan?
I'll tell you what to do, Frank. You let me put you on the stand before the prosecution calls your son Michael.
They can?
They can, and they will.
I don't know, Mr. Egan. Is it possible I made a mistake? He's only a kid, a boy. And I'm the one who dragged him into it.
Dragged him into what? Come on, Frank. We haven't got all day.
I changed my mind. I'll testify. A murder, Mr. Miller. But I don't care what you claim, because deep in my heart, I know that I'm innocent.
You tracked Mr. Wilton down. Followed his trail like a secret hunter, did you not?
Yes, I followed him. I'm guilty of that.
And you painted a false sign on your truck, flashed a false contract, obtained entrance falsely. And by means of a gun whose whereabouts are presently unknown, but which was seen in your hands by two persons, while you were in the act of firing that gun.
I'm innocent, sir.
Innocent of what, Mr. Santo?
Did you see the scar on my boy's arm, huh? The color of blood? And it'll be that way until the day he dies, huh? Why didn't you put a picture up of that so that the people can judge one from the other?
Mr. Santo, please confine yourself to answering the questions.
Mr. Santo, may I repeat my questions? Why did you obtain entrance to Miss Doreen Stack's house?
I owed a $300 debt, which I paid twice over, and I still owed the principal. Mr. Wilton ran the racket, and Mr. Wilton was in Miss Stack's house.
I see what you're telling me. In other words, you went there in order to reason with Mr. Wilton.
All right.
Reason with him out of the barrel of a British machine pistol.
I'm innocent, sir.
All right, then, who killed Mr. Wilton?
That's not for me to say.
Now, Mr. Santo, I perceive in you a man who's reluctant to tell an outright lie. Now, may I repeat the question again? Do you know who killed John Wilton?
Yes.
All right, who was it?
He killed himself. His own evil spirit.
He killed himself? You're telling me a man swimming in a pool of water on a fine afternoon took out a gun and shot himself in the back?
No, he didn't do that by himself.
Well, how else? Mr. Santo, did you, in fact, kill John Wilton, or did you not?
I did not.
Face the jury, please, and speak up.
I am innocent.
You're a witness, I believe, Mr. Egan.
Mr. Santo has answered any questions I might ask far better than I could have expressed them myself.
And as I, Gerald Miller, have no choice but to prosecute, you and the jury have no choice but to convict. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, we can throw out of office our Metropolitan Police, our state troopers, our FBI, yes, our laws and our courts, and give guns and ammunition to the vigilantes, and let them kill whom they choose and how they choose, provided they murder in accordance with their conscience. Well, your conscience, and certainly mine, will not allow it.
Yes, Mr. Santo had a gun. A gun, may I remind you, is a perfectly legal piece of machinery. We are not in this case required to defend our right to own a weapon. But why should we? We do so only under special and evil circumstances. And Mr. Wilton, head of a vicious, cruel loan racket, was exactly that. A special evil circumstance. It is a man's right, his natural and elementary right, earlier than any statutory law, indeed than any society, to defend himself and his family. We should be satisfied, as I am sure you are, that Frank Santo is not a murdering man. But did he not kill John Wilton? Let us for 10 seconds say that he did. Well, if he did so because law enforcement failed miserably in its duty to protect men like Frank Santo against men like John Wilton. Now, on the other hand, let us suppose that Frank Santo did not kill John Wilton. Who could have done so? Well, the candidates are pretty numerous indeed. Mr. Wilton had a world of enemies, or should I say an underworld. And out of all of these, the prosecution has exerted all of its ingenuity and manpower and has come up with the owner of a wholesale paper route. Now, this is either tragic or ridiculous, and I leave it to you to choose which. Because, in the long run, it's not important whether you execute in the gas chamber a good husband and a good father. The grief of his wife and his children will no doubt heal in God's good time. But what is important, and the reason I took this case, is to expose to the world an untouched, unharmed, evil, monstrous money-making machine. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have said to myself time and again, suppose I had borrowed that $300. What would I have done, considering the love and the duty I would owe my family? Would you then send me, as a reward for the performance of that love and that duty, to a box in state prison made of concrete and steel, about the size of a large closet, there to be put to death by choking on hydrocyanic acid? No, the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, we are merely spectators, witnesses to the drama inside Mr. Santo's head. We are concerned with the law and legality and the dignity of our institutions, while he is concerned, even at this moment, only with his wife and with his 4 children, and a 5th child destroyed by 2 hoodlums in the hire and pay of an evil which we don't have the courage to wipe out by ourselves. Oh, no, let's forget these human circumstances. Let's consider the law, and let's vote as we see it. There's very little else we can do.
2 days.
2 days.
What do they do when they're there?
They're weighing the law and the evidence, and when they're done, they'll come forward and deliver a true verdict.
How can 12 other people realize what I think and feel? They don't know me. They don't know what I've been through. How can they judge me? 12 strangers sitting in a box.
What'll you say if they declare you innocent? You'll think they're shining angels of wisdom, won't you?
Oh, no.
No? Why not?
Because I've come to realize something terrible. That there are few things in this world which are simply yes or no, 100% good or 100% bad.
Even Mr. Wilton?
I don't know. Maybe I don't want to know.
No doubt Mr. Wilton had his good side. He probably loved sunshine, golf, dogs. But somebody appointed himself a jury, found him guilty, and executed him. Tell me the truth, Frank. Was it you? Whoever it was, his conscience was his guide. It allowed him to kill. But whether or not it will allow him to sleep at night is hard for me to say. And until he is tried and convicted, he'll be in the position of Cain, who killed Abel. The only judge in those days was in heaven. The murderer had to bear the burden of his own deed by himself. The killer of Mr. Wilton will be where mankind was, Mr. Santo, at the beginning.
Will the defendant please rise? Have you reached a verdict?
Your Honor, we have not.
You believe with further deliberation you'll be able to compose your differences and reach a verdict?
No, Your Honor. I'm afraid we're hopelessly deadlocked.
I'm sorry to hear that. Frankly, in my opinion, the evidence was as clear as the water in this glass in front of me. No man, however motivated, however justified, however driven, has the right to take the law into his own hands and become judge, jury, and executioner. Fortunately, the verdict is not in my hands. I declare this to be a mistrial and refer this case back to Department 100 for resetting. The jury is hereby discharged.
No! No, Your Honor, you're making some kind of mistake. You have it all twisted. I want to take the stand and testify.
Mr. Egan, the conduct of your client will not be tolerated by this court. Mr. Santo, you must understand that this court is representative of the people, and I must act in their interest and in accordance with principles of law and justice.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but it's my life and not yours. I just simply wanted to know if my wife could be present when I...
Any further statement you wish to make, Mr. Santo, must be made through your attorney. Do you understand me? I caution you to seek his counsel. I have declared this proceeding a mistrial and thereby remand you to the custody of the Sheriff of Los Angeles County.
All right, Mr. Sano, if you'll just sign the statement right here on the bottom where I've indicated, please.
Can I have a moment in private, please?
For what?
My wife. I want to explain.
Mr. Sano, you're not going to deny that statement you just made, are you?
I don't know exactly.
Well, why don't you just sign the statement first, please, Mr. Sano?
I can't.
Mr. Santo's struggling with his conscience, Jerry. Give him a chance to lose.
It's all right, Frankie. It's all right. Mr. Miller promised me he'd ask for a minimum penalty, so it won't be so bad. We'll be all right, you'll see. You think you've let me down, but you haven't. You haven't, Frankie. This is what I wanted you to do. Only I could never tell you. It had to be done. But it had to be done by yourself. And I wondered when you'd get up and tell everybody the truth.
The truth? Who cares about the truth? It's tearing us apart. I'm going to tear it up. I'll tell him I was out of my head.
Oh, Frank. If it was anybody else, Frank, yes. But not you. You know that, don't you?
No. Egan? Mr. Miller? Where did I put my stupid name?